everyone. This is the Attribution Reporting Fundamentals presentation. I'm Katie. I'm the Inbound Marketing Manager at Madison Marketing Group. I've been a HubSpot user for 8 years, and Madison Marketing Group has been the Madison HubSpot User Group leader probably for the last 6 years. Today, we're going to talk about attribution fundamentals, just kind of cover the basics, and then we'll do a quick run through of HubSpot's attribution tool. This will mostly be geared towards a pro level Marketing Hub subscription rather than an enterprise Marketing Hub level, which just want to make clear the differences now. Enterprise does enable you to report on deals and revenue, whereas the pro level does not. So an easy way to think about attribution is by using a sports model. So let's say soccer. Everyone's pretty much familiar with that, or football if you're outside of the US. And if you imagine a soccer play, the ball gets started at one end of the field, gets passed from player to player, and eventually ends up in the goal. And the question is, who deserves credit for that goal? The traditional way, looking at that, is to give all of the credit to the goal scorer. But that's not the only way to look at it. Another idea is giving 100% of the credit to the player that put up the cross, thinking they put the ball in the right place at the right time, so all the last player had to do was take aim and kick it in. So goals and assists are the most common way to attribute goals in soccer, but you could divvy up credit for a goal however you choose. The question is, why even count? Why do those metrics matter for the players? And why do these metrics matter for the manager or the coach? The answer is pretty simple. The players get recognition for scoring. The manager is better able to optimize their team for scoring more goals and winning more games. And both get to use these metrics for leverage for things like higher pay or creating a team that successful players want to be a part of. And the same is true for your business. If you only look at who's scoring the most goals, your sales team gets the credit. And if you pay attention to the assists, you have a better idea of how your business is working as a whole. But that's only the beginning. If you can identify what drives impact, why does that matter for marketers? Why does that matter for marketing leaders? And again, the answer is pretty simple. Marketers, the team that in most cases gets the least amount of recognition and credit for bringing in business, can finally claim their impact on the bottom line. And marketing leaders can use that information to optimize their team, their budget, and their marketing initiatives. And again, for both, it's used as leverage. So let's apply this concept to a real-world example. A3C is a HubSpot customer that runs a music festival based in Atlanta, Georgia. One of their personas is Bethany. She's a huge music fan, and she's interested in attending A3C Music Festival this year. She learned about the festival when she was Googling things to do in her hometown of Atlanta during October. She found a link to the festival, clicked through the article, and poked around the website for a little while. From A3C's perspective, this is Bethany's first interaction with the business, even though she's not a lead in the system yet. A few days later, Bethany came across an ad for the festival on Facebook. She clicked on the ad and visited the website for a second time. This time, she looks at the lineup and realizes some of her favorite artists are performing. So she can stay in the loop, she signs up for email notifications. On A3's side, Bethany's created as a lead in the CRM at this moment when she signs up. This marks the second important moment in her journey. Bethany was also likely already cookied during her first visit, and HubSpot can match that visit up with the conversion visit and assign Bethany's original source as organic search and her latest source as social advertising. A week later, Bethany sees a new lineup announcement on Twitter. She clicks the link in the tweet to visit the site again to learn more. While there, she reserves tickets. A3C promises to email her when tickets go on sale. On A3C's side this time, the moment of purchase intent is when the deal is created, the deal creation interaction. Now, the way standard deal sources work in HubSpot is that the deal source is copied over from the contact's original source. So in this case, the deal would be considered an organic search deal. The following week, Bethany receives an email. Tickets are on sale. She clicks the link in the email and buys 2 tickets for her and her friend for a total of $800. On A3C's side, this is the moment when Bethany's deal is considered closed won. So, looking at everything, this is Bethany's entire journey. Her first interaction was through organic search. She was created as a lead in the CRM after clicking on a link in a paid social ad. She reserved her ticket after seeing an organic social post, which created a deal in the CRM. And finally, that deal was closed through an email campaign when she finally purchased her tickets. With attribution, we're simply assigning credit to those 4 big interactions. And attribution models tell us how much credit to assign to each interaction. There's a number of different attribution models out there. We're going to cover just a few today, but these are just the ways that you apply credit to different marketing assets and buyer touch points, and each one helps answer a specific question. One of the easier ways to think about attribution is to ask the question, how are customers initially finding out about us? And this is something that marketers have a particular interest in learning. A first interaction attribution model answers this question and gives all the credit for the deal to that first touch point. Because we're only looking at one touch point here, we would also call this single touch attribution. And if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by different attribution models or what they mean, HubSpot has always been tracking a first touch attribution in a simple way. By keeping track of a contact's original source and transferring that property to the deal record, like we mentioned with Bethany, HubSpot already has a record of that first touch attribution. That's great too, to get around the deal and revenue attribution report being missing from pro level marketing hubs. You can use that original source of the deal as kind of a first touch attribution and create a report from that. So going back to Bethany's buyer journey, her first interaction was through organic search. And under a first touch attribution model, organic search would get 100% of the credit for that deal. But of course, Bethany's just one customer. So once you create an attribution report, you can aggregate this concept across all your customers. So here's how you visualize that report in HubSpot. And we'll get in how to set up these reports in a minute, but here you can see along the x-axis, we have our sources, and on the y-axis, we have influenced revenue with the same information displayed in a table below. The limit of first touch attribution is that it ignores all other touch points after that first one. What if you wanted to know what was influencing paying customers, not just at their first touch, but across the entire buyer's journey? So if you wanted to take a look at the entire buyer's journey, you could use the full path model. And this model evenly distributes credit to the 4 main touch points in the buyer's journey: first touch, lead creation, deal creation, and closed won. Together, those 4 touch points get 90% of the credit, or individually, they get 22.5%. And the remaining 10% goes to touch points that occur in between those 4 main touch points. And because this model takes into account multiple touch points along the buyer's journey, it's called multi-touch attribution. So applying this to Bethany's buyer's journey, we see that the organic search the Facebook ad, the tweet, and the marketing email are all worth $180 to A3C. Let's say Bethany had a fifth touch point as well, a blog post she read. Because this isn't one of the four main touch points outlined as important by the full path attribution model, it's only going to get 10% of the credit, or $80. Before jumping into how to set up an attribution report in HubSpot, we're going to quickly go over 5 best practices. First, start small. Understand that some answers are better than no answers, and it's unlikely that you'll be able to have all the answers at once anyways. So pick one model, find one takeaway, and then make a strategic change, and you'll have an impact. Second, own a revenue number. For marketers, this is kind of controversial. Part of the reason we're in marketing is because having a quota is stressful, but there's a reason our sales counterparts get the biggest checks. Tying your work directly to revenue gives you leverage. So if sales knows that you're driving revenue, they'll listen, and that means leadership will listen too. Next, process first. We often hear from our clients that they're frustrated by having no data in their reports. And our first question to them is, does your sales team have a consistent process for tracking deals and associating contacts? More often than not, the answer is no. No technology can overcome inconsistent data. So focus on perfecting your process before getting into advanced attribution. And here's where we usually get questions from attendees or clients on how they can make those deals with sales. How can they get buy-in from the sales team? And that leads into the next point, which is to manage your stakeholders. You want to make sure that you or someone from your team has a seat at the table when it comes to decision making and budget meetings. If you have your reports ready and make sure that they're fully understood by the decision makers at your company, you can always make a case for getting buy-in from the leadership team to have sales make those process changes and ensure that you're able to get the data that you need. It's kind of a, did the chicken come before the egg situation, but if you can start small, show the data, you can build from there. And lastly, it makes it a whole lot easier if you have a single system of record that connects your marketing and sales data. If not, you'll spend too much time hacking together systems and your data will be incomplete. Obviously, we're at the HubSpot User Group. We're going to recommend HubSpot, and that has a hub for every aspect of your business, tons of integrations that will pull in any external data that you're using. So speaking of HubSpot, let's jump into how you can set up an attribution report in HubSpot. First, you'll need to navigate to the reporting tool and choose Create Report, which is in the upper right-hand corner, orange button. Then you'll want to choose to create an attribution report, which is the lower right option. So far, we've talked about deals and revenue attribution report, and just want to take a quick reminder here. Those are only available at the enterprise level of Marketing Hub, but at the pro level, you're not left with nothing. You do have the ability to report on contact attribution. So not only is this helpful to determine which channels create contacts, but you can also look at things like campaigns, individual assets like pages or posts. And HubSpot makes attribution really easy by giving you the questions you might need answers to. These create report templates that just kind of plug in the data that you need to report on getting the answer to these questions. So you'll want to select one of those options. And from there, it's just a matter of adjusting your filters to see the data that's relevant. So here I want to call attention to the option to choose or compare different attribution models. So in this drop down here, you will see that you're able to select different attribution models. and there's some help text that helps you understand what it is doing if you select that option. And then in the chart to the right, it displays each model. So if you click compare above, that does something a little different. You'll see a pop-up and it'll select one contact, and all of the different models will be laid out across tabs at the top. Selecting different tab options will show you what the attribution looks like for that single contact using that model. So it's just, both of these are a great little tool to use to kind of get a sense of what you're looking at, how that might compare to other information that you're able to look at as far as attribution. And last, you can save the report. And from there, just like any other report, you can add it to your dashboard or just have it stand on its own. And as we wrap up, I want to do a couple quick takeaways. You always want to make sure that whatever you're reporting on is actionable. So you don't want to just send someone off to create a bunch of reports because you can. You want to make sure the data you're looking at answers a real question that has an impact on how you're going to do business. So especially if you're making a case to those higher ups, less is often more. And the second point here is that data can tell a great story, but it's not the same as collecting real information from real humans. So we always recommend that you consider collecting this type of information and using that to either back up or disprove what you're seeing with your data. So what that looks like in real life is maybe asking an open field question on a form to ask how people heard from you or heard about you. And then, if you have some customers after you've closed the deal, you can ask them, was there any moment or interaction that particularly influenced your decision? Or what moment did you know that you were going to work with us over, our competitors or whatever it is? These answers, they're not going to be straight up data points like you'll see, collected from HubSpot, but layered in with your reports, they can help you get a fuller picture. And with data too, you're not, the data is limited by what can be pulled out from, what's happening on your computer or what's happening with your interactions with the website. It doesn't take into account how someone feels about a particular campaign or maybe outside influences that you don't see showing up in your data. So it's always recommended to every now and then take a quick sampling or do it on a continual basis. So that is everything we have prepared for our presentation today. Nice, short and sweet. So you guys can get back to, working on setting up these reports for yourself. So I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who took the time out to attend today. For those that weren't able to attend, we will be sending out a recording after the call. And if you do have any questions or have any HubSpot related, more general questions, you can always reach out to us at support@madisonmarketing.com. Thanks again.